What is up, RotoGrinders? Running it back from yesterday. Same deal. NBA Cup, Emirates Cup. 2 more games in the quarterfinals going down tonight. Not taking you all the way up the lock. Lock, of course, 7 o'clock on the East Coast, but we're going to go till about the 6:30 on the East Coast, give or take, depending on the conversation. We're getting flooded with questions, things of that sort. But, we have 2 more games in the association to get some tight rotations as well. Always getting tight rotations with the Knicks. But, yeah, the NBA Cup stuff, win, move on, go to Vegas. We have Chop's team. We got producer Steve's team. They're not playing against each other. But, yeah, Atlanta taking on New York. Golden State taking on Chop's Rockets. Chopper, welcome. How are things?
What up, Dean? Big day in news. Big day in sports news. Garrett Crochet to the Red Sox. That's a big move. That's a good one. Red Sox working on some other deals here now. It's interesting. It's fun stuff. I like to keep track of everything. Bill Belichick, the great Bill Belichick, going back to college. I mean, I don't want to – the jokes kind of write themselves with that one, but
yeah.
I think I said somebody yesterday when I first heard the news, get your North Carolina futures. If you can get them to win a national championship, it's a weird bet. I don't think you can. But if you can get them to win a natty in the next three years or so, I'd definitely be betting that one, man, at some good odds because he'll turn it around real quick. But
with the transfer portal, is it easier to turn around a program, like faster?
Oh, way faster to turn your program around and a lot more work to keep your program at the top. But, man, he's got so many advantages. He's coming from the NFL. So none of that really bothers him. That's just like crazy off-season free agency. He's already used to it.
Yeah.
The guys now, they complain about it because that's not what they're used to. He's used to it. He's used to that business aspect of it. I think that'll be big for him. I also think that there's just going to be a lot of great high school talent coming out, 5 stars that say, man, he can get me to the NFL because he knows what it takes. I'm going to go there. So I think he's going to build a heck of a defense, man. I think he's going to be really good.
Is he going to be like 72 years old? Is he going to be like in kids' living rooms, like giving the speech? Is he doing that? Do we think he's doing that or no?
I mean, maybe for the best of the best.
Yeah.
He is, but otherwise, I don't know. I don't know how that works anymore. Do the guys actually still do that for all the recruits, or is it mostly now just Zoom calls and stuff like that anyway? So I don't know.
It's a good question. I would imagine, like you said, for the ones like the 5 stars, like the elite of the elite, you'll go above and beyond. But yeah, I didn't even think of that. There probably is a lot of Zoom calls now for recruits, not official visits, I suppose. But yeah, interesting. So does that mean he prefers college to NFL, or like there just wasn't any NFL offers coming? I thought like one of these, like maybe he just has a preference. Like, I'm going to try college. It sounds like fun. I don't know.
Good question. Maybe no head coaching gigs were there for him, and he saw the writing on the wall. And this was not only a chance to be a head coach again, but also set up his son to be the head coach and have a lineage there. His dad.
Is that what's going on?
He's the head coach in waiting. That was part of the deal. His son
didn't know
the
that.
head coach in waiting. So
nepotism with the face. He makes the faces, right? Isn't Belichick's kid make the faces?
Some say he's makes a face like he's on some sort of drugs. I don't know what that looks like, but that's what the kids say.
Where is he at now, Belichick's kid? Is he in the NFL, or did he get out?
I think he's a defensive coordinator for a college.
Yeah.
I forget who he went to, like a Pac-12 school or something. He might be at Washington or something. I don't know where he's at, but that's where his kid is now. So, yeah, I don't know. They'll be good. And, again, Dean, we're keeping up with the winter meetings too. Fun stuff, man. I like it. Lots of good stuff going on.
The NBA Cup, Emirates Cup, good day yesterday. Let's run it back today, win some more American dollars. We do have a noteworthy stuff on the injury report. I'm just assuming everybody's in. Maybe I'm just being ignorant, but I think everybody's going to play. That's questionable. Bogdanovich is questionable with he's got a contusion on his quad. I assume he goes. Jalen Johnson, soreness, like shoulder soreness. Come on. He's questionable. It's a cup game. I assume he plays. Josh Hart seems to play through everything, even when he probably shouldn't be playing. He's questionable. He's got an ankle. Officially, Karl Anthony Towns is listed as probable on the injury report. Golden State, no DeAnthony Melton. He's done for the season. Moses Moody is out. Wiggins is officially questionable, but I think Steve Kerr even said he's going to play. I thought that was a thing, but he is questionable on the injury report. I assume all these guys play. Şengün also questionable, which, come on. Knee soreness, he's going to play. I mean, look, I think he's going to play. You tell me if I'm wrong. Steven Adams questionable. I don't really think he matters, to be honest. He just does not work for this kind of game. Can't imagine he plays many minutes, if any at all. Jayshawn Tate, same deal. Cam Whitmore, same deal. All questionable, but who cares? Do you agree with this, Chop? Yesterday, I thought we had some real chances of players sitting out, but I don't think it happens today.
Your injury would have to be very serious and not just talk for you to sit out this guy. I think these games are fairly important to these guys. I think they've proven by their actions that these games are pretty important to the players and the teams. So, you'd have to be seriously injured. Like that questionable tag would have to be of the serious variety for you to sit out these games, I would think.
Anything you want to say big picture wise as far as, before we go game by game, we're going to talk about the two games. I have the pick six in my head because what we do on the pick six show later on tonight for football, we focus on three main games. Well, there are two main games on the NBA slate because there is only two games. So that's how we're going to do it. And you got anything big picture wise? Certainly the Atlanta-New York game looks more appealing. 237.5 total. Golden State, Houston, more defensive minded teams, 222.5. And the rotation for New York is awesome. 6, maybe 7 guys, right? The starters playing 35 plus, most likely with a ceiling of close to 40. If this game is close, you want to give any overall thoughts? 2-game slate stuff. You kind of tell a story sometimes with your lineups. Personally, I like the Atlanta-New York game more than the Golden State-Houston, but I think that's what the field likes as well. Anything you want to add to that before we dive in?
No, it's 2 games, so you don't worry about the rules as much that you would be doing on a bigger slate. I don't think you put too many caps on anything. It's just 2 games, so you got to do some stuff different. And being different doesn't mean you have to be like 7 players in your lineup different. You just need to be a little bit different somewhere to not duplicate what's going to be some lineups that are going to be used by several different users. So we'll talk about it as we go, how you can do that.
I ran some 77 optimals for whatever reason, added some bells and whistles on DK. So the most popular player does not play for New York. As far as hit my lineups, hitting on my cap. This is DraftKings, remember. But the next five, Chop, between 70% and 55% are all players for New York. So, New York is going to be popular. The first optimal I have has 4 Knicks. The next one has 4. The next one has 5. It's really, really hard to avoid them. I was going to put a rule in, at least 2, but I think the rules just going to take care of themselves. Like you just kind of sort of fall into New York players. But anything. Oh, by the way, Kuminga is the most popular player, which is kind of dicey. I assume he starts. We're assuming he starts, but we're not sure. And that's a later game. He's been good of late. We're actually projecting Curry, Hield, Wiggins, Kuminga, and Draymond. I think there's a chance Looney starts. I think we saw Draymond go to the bench there briefly. They're talking about him coming off the bench, and it's also a cup game. It'll be interesting to see what Golden State rolls out with, but probably not going to be playing their regular 12. I think they're thinning that out a little bit, especially for the cup stuff. But yeah, anything we want to say before we fully dive in, or shall we talk about New York and Atlanta?
We'll dive in.
237.5 is the total. New York has the biggest team total on the board. The biggest team total on the board by 7 points. They are 7-point favorites over Atlanta. Atlanta, their defense has been better, but they still play very fast. They still go up the most made threes in all of basketball. Again, New York will be super, super popular. If you look at the ownership stuff, I think Cat is the best Raw points play on the slate. He's going to be at least 50% owned on DK. We got a 53 right now in the single entry, 3-entry max. Those kind of contests, it should be even higher. But I think it's really, really good chalk. Career high in 3-point percentage this year. I think it's like 44% or so. Not that it's a tougher. Atlanta's kind of a funnel outside. They're pretty good inside, but Cat can get you outside and he can get you inside too. I think he's an awesome play. And when we talk about Şengün soon enough, I like him distinctly more than Şengün. I wish I didn't when you look at the ownership stuff. We'll get the Şengün soon enough, obviously, but I guess that's a starting point. New York, Cat, and then, Brunson looks good. He projects well. Hart, we're assuming he plays. I have the if-then stuff pulled up. I guess we'll note it, but it seems like we agree, we think. And New York doesn't help us out with this. They don't tell you until they basically give you a lineup. They're all game time. That's how they do it in New York. We assume they're all going to play, though. Hart is the one we're talking about, who's currently questionable. Your thoughts as far as New York? How much New York is too much New York?
I mean, it's a 2-game slate, so you kind of got to roll with it, man. You don't have much of a choice there. So, yeah, I know that it is chalky, but you're just going to have to probably get different somewhere else. So you can just go through all of them. If these guys weren't playing so well, too, they're starting to, really gel offensively. That's what makes it even tougher to fade. OG's playing good, racking up points from everywhere on the court. So that's chalky as heck. But, man, that's pretty good chalk because nobody outside of Karl-Anthony Towns is also particularly expensive, and that's what makes it weird too. Miles McBride has a great role on this team. Super chalky, but cheap, and he's playing at least 25 minutes every single night. He's that guy coming off the bench, so you got that going for you. Mikal Bridges playing well too. Everybody, man. Karl-Anthony Towns, you said raw points. You need raw points on a 2-gamer. It's going to be tough to fade that one. Jalen is the one I'd probably be most likely to fade because he is expensive than the other guys I mentioned, but doesn't quite project as well as Cat these days. So he's the one guy maybe, and he's chalky, but I can probably get away from that one. Josh Hart, the next chalky is way down the list there. Still chalky, but he's questionable. If the injury doesn't really do anything to hamper him, he's going to play his 40 minutes and he's going to crush Atlanta and he's going to grab rebounds. It's going to be a kind of a faster pace. And so he's going to have more rebounding opportunities, more assist opportunities. They're just all good, man. So, yeah, can I get away from them? I'd be like, I don't think you'd be doing your lineup a true justice to get away from too much New York. I think it's fine to go with if you want to put in 4 of these guys in your lineup, so be it, man.
Let's see our starters. We were projecting at the least for Cat 36 minutes, at the most Bridges 39. But again, there's a chance they get a few more. Wouldn't be shocking. We know about Tibbs. We know about this is a cup game. The other thing I want to mention about Cat, second best rebounder in basketball as far as rebounds per game. 1.43 on FanDuel, fantasy points per minute, 1.55 on DK, because it's a double-double basically every single time out there. So you get those double-double points on DK. That's why that shines even better. 2.3 made threes per game as well this season. Precious will be the guy that would get the big bump, right? 30 minutes will be the projection if we happen to lose Hart. They'll play Precious alongside Cat to some degree. McBride, I'm surprised only 26 minutes. I thought it'd be a little bit more of a bump. But yeah, I'm looking at the if-then stuff. Brunson looks good. Cat looks good. And Precious will be the cheapie. That'll be pretty interesting. You mentioned OG. His stocks have been awesome of late. I know in the survey, I think it was a Monday in the survey. My bold call was 5+ stocks. He got 5+ stocks. He got us there. And then this Atlanta matchup, they're bottom 8 as far as yielding steals, bottom 5 as far as yielding blocks. Depending on bottom or top, they're a good opponent for those things. I might have inversed them. They're both bottom 8 as far as giving up steals, giving up blocks. So it's a good matchup for stocks as well. What about the Hawks? Because I like the idea, and you do as well. I'm sure. I imagine if we're going to play 3 or 4 players from New York, you want to have, ideally, you don't have to, but in theory, at least one player for Atlanta, possibly 2. Nobody projects great on Atlanta, right? It's a big pace down spot against New York. You got to pay the full freights. You got to pay the iron price, if you will, for Trae Young. Certainly, he could get there. Going to be an awesome, atmosphere here in the Garden. He's going to soak it up, but he's not been very good this year by his standards, so it doesn't mean he can't do it. Jalen Johnson, we're assuming he's going to play. If he doesn't, I should note, if he doesn't, we have Bogdanovich is out. We're just assuming. Yeah, we don't have one, and if then we have one for Bogdanovich is also questionable. Who would get the bigger bump there? Would be Hunter, I guess. Ricochet maybe, but no, not one real clear player. If he doesn't go, because we have Krejci and Gary Bird, Garrison Matthews getting some minutes, and you probably don't want either one of those guys, but they would suck up those minutes. Runbacks on Atlanta, and salary cap's a thing too, so it's just hard. I shouldn't say hard, but a little trickier to get Trae, a little bit trickier to get Jalen Johnson. They're coming in around 20% ownership, which is pretty good on a 2-gamer. Dyson Daniels just still feels way too expensive. He feels like he's been too expensive for a while now. His price is not adjusted. Good steals guy, good defensive player, great barrier thief. They'll throw him on, I guess Brunson is probably who they'll throw him on. I didn't really go through that, but that sort of makes sense to me in my head. Give me the power rankings of runbacks on Atlanta.
Well, if you can afford Trae Young, obviously I think he's a really good play tonight. It's just the Madison Square Garden thing. I believe that's an actual thing. So he gets up for those games. He performs well there, and he's 9,400. But I think on a small slate like this, I think it's worth it. Jalen Johnson, 1,100 cheaper. Massive ceiling for him too. He's really good, and I don't know that you could play both these guys and get Cat or Brunson in there. That's a lot. Maybe you could, because the next game will have a little bit of some salary savings, but if you want to go that route, I don't hate that idea either, man. I like both these guys. I probably couldn't play them both in the same lineup though. Bogdanovich is chalky. He's a guy I could get away from. That's no problem. You talked about Dyson Daniels, certainly can get away from that thing at that price tag. Capella hasn't been a guy I play very much this year. So here's the one guy I do want to talk about, Dean, is DeAndre Hunter. That's not a lot of ownership on a 2-game slate for Hunter. If there's a guy outside of Trae Young and Jalen Johnson that could perform well tonight, I think DeAndre Hunter is that guy. I'm not saying – you're digging, man. On 2-game slate, you got to dig in there a little bit more. And one thing the Knicks do is give up the corner threes. The best guy coming out of the corner for Atlanta, shooting threes out of the corner, is DeAndre Hunter. So maybe that's a path you can take, and there's some avenues for him to do pretty well. And in a game that's going to have a little pace to it for him, he's a pretty good defensive guy too. He can rack up some stats for you. So I don't mind DeAndre. I'd probably rank DeAndre third on my Hawks list behind Jalen and Trae Young. And the rest of those guys could definitely be fades for me.
So, yeah, Atlanta gives up the most made threes, and New York gives up the 6th most made threes. So the threes will be flying for sure. You were talking about a little bit ago trying to build a lineup with Cat. Was there 3 players, 3 big spends? Was it Cat, Trae, Johnson? I wanted to see what that looked like. You're talking about was it 2 big spends or 3 big spends in this game? Was it Brunson?
I think 2 is pretty easy. I think 3 would be a unique build. 3 big spins from this game, however you want to do it.
Okay, I just want to see what that looks like. I was going to run it and see Cat, and then maybe Cat, Brunson, and Jalen Johnson. So let's see how much what that looks like as far as off the optimal. The optimal I think was 272, and if I run it. What's the optimal going to give me? 265. So it's only a 7-point difference.
Yeah, that's not bad. I think that's pretty unique, man. I mean, I think people will go to New York and they'll shy away from the ownership numbers. Projected ownership numbers are telling you they're going to shy away from Atlanta a little bit. I don't think that's a great strategy. I think Atlanta's perfectly fine. So the guys I mentioned, I like. Those other guys, I don't know how much upside there is in those guys. So, but I like the three guys I mentioned.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think lineup building and just like play 7 players from this game. You got to obviously play one from the other, but I'm thinking about doing that, maybe a 3-4, and then just one player on Houston, Golden State, and be smart about that. I get the idea. The story you're probably telling there is that the game was obviously low scoring and possibly a blowout. Maybe pick somebody like an Eason or something like that. That would have a little bit of garbage time. Just kind of thinking out loud, but he's one of my favorite players in the slate as is. We'll get to that soon enough. But probably questions in the chat. And if you have any questions, also fire them off in the Discord channel. I have my eye on the YouTube. I know producer Steve's checking out the Discord, RotoGrinders.com/Discord. Jump into the live stream chat channel. If you have any questions, we'll do our best to answer those in the next 20 minutes. Let's see. What was the question I saw? But yeah, best God is better was asking, what's your best spend up? I mean, mine is all the way at the top. I like Cat, and it's not hard to get it, but the field likes it too. But I think it's good chalk.
Best spin up on the whole slate, yeah, it is Karl Anthony Towns. Sure, like there's just been so good, man. Like I don't even. You look at what he's done this year. And I don't even. Curry is really good, obviously, but I don't think anybody has his type of consistent ceiling. Like Curry does it every once in a while. He does it every night. Like yeah, he's clearly the best spin up, I think.
Steven wants to know if we have any idea how Brunson has done against the Hawks this year.
He's only had one game against them. There's nothing. It wasn't great. It was like 21, 3, and 4. So nothing.
Uneventful.
Nothing great.
I pulled up his last so many seasons, his last 4 or 5 games, and DK points, 31.3, 37.5, 45, 44, 41, 24, but that's probably before he was on New York. Yeah, that's still not great, though. Nothing groundbreaking, but doesn't mean you can't play him, obviously. Again, this is a good 3-point spot, and he can get loose from 3 sometimes. But I just like, it sounds like you like it as well, Cat over Brunson. If you only can have one of those two. Okongwu versus Capella. Who's your lean?
Oh man. 57 and 47. It'd probably be the 47 underdog guy. I go cheaper route.
Yeah, it's obviously I don't like to implement strict rules, but I would not play them together.
No, you don't, no. Certainly not. Don't do that. And yeah, that's definitely a rule you could put in. Hammer says you should have done movie night tonight since there's not many games. I would agree with that. You should have done a little movie action, man.
I want to, but like I thought, like so Grinders Live, you have a little bit of fun. It's a little bit more laid back. This is crunch time, right? In crunch time, it's all business. You know,
2 games, man.
It's not as silly. It's not as much nonsense. So I wanted to respect what crunch time is, and I thought it'd be all business. But I mean, theoretically, I could have, but I didn't. That's the reason why. If you're curious, a peek behind the curtain. I know you like to play, but we're only here for so long, and the people want to know about the slate, and that's that. And we'll you know what it is. We'll have movie nights on Friday. We'll have film Friday. I don't know if you're on the show or not, but you can watch. You can play the home version. Would I rather play a lineup? This is Steve asking a question. Trey and Cat versus Steph FEV.
Oh, man. Yeah, Trey and Cat all day.
Yeah. I mean, also the salaries don't match up either, I don't think. But, yeah, I mean, I would – if you have the salary, that's not a thing. But, yeah, Don Easy said there's still time. Well, I'd have to come up with the game on the fly, and I just probably couldn't do that. But I don't have one – in my back pocket.
And this is not a true crunch time. This is like
it's a fake crunch time?
It's like yeah, we're not really, because we're not going up against lock like they do.
Yeah.
When we get out of here, they're still gonna have 30 minutes to goof around. So it's not.
Maybe I should have reconsidered. I should have thought.
Too late now, Dean. Too late now.
Yeah. No. There's like a 3-gamer tomorrow night that bleeds into the football. So I think you're on the back half. You're talking football with Matic, and Roth is talking basketball. And maybe you can talk Roth into a fleet Thursday. Maybe I'll send him a message and see if he wants to play along, but cannot make any promises. See, and then when you make the game, people get angry. The clues suck. This game sucks. And then you don't make the game, people are upset. It turns out you just can't please anybody sometimes, no matter what you do. Final thoughts as far as Atlanta and New York?
It's a good game. The projected ownership tells you it's a good game. The Vegas totals tell you it's a good game. It's the better game of the two, hypothetically, but you never know because it is the bigger spread. There could, you never know. It could get out of hand, whereas the other game's been to overtime already this year when they've played. They played 2 games that were like the other game could be this really close contested all 4 quarters, and this one could be a blowout, and you never know. But everything's pointing towards this game, New York, Atlanta, being the one where you probably want the most exposure in your lineup, and that's okay.
Specifically New York. Not that you can't play Atlanta, but I think New York heavy looks pretty good. And like, what's the scenario where you're not going to need like 2 pieces from New York? Because the rotation, it's going to be crazy tight. That's what it is. Unless they just miss all their shots. I guess that's possible.
This scenario would be something that you don't want to predict or project. That would be like an injury, right? Like that'd be like having all in on, Brunson, and he goes down with one of those infamous ankle injuries in the first quarter. Like injury, something like that is like the only way because these guys play so many minutes, man. It's and this is a good game for them. Yeah, it's going to be hard to keep at least 2 of these guys out of the optimal when this is all said and done tonight at the end of the night.
And the other thing is Tibbs just doesn't show any mercy. He doesn't pull the plug. Like he'll keep the guys out there with 3 minutes to go, right? Island game, of course, they didn't play yesterday, not playing tomorrow. They would go to Vegas for the championships. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the second game, the back half of the doubleheader. Golden State, Houston, 222.5 as a total. Officially, Şengün is questionable. I assume he plays, but, be aware. He's questionable. Wiggins officially questionable. Seems very likely he's going to play also. Chop, this is your team. Do you have the fever? Do you have the cup fever? Are we excited? Are you going to actually watch this game? I don't know if there's college stuff going on where you might prioritize. I assume you're going to watch the basketball tonight. You're excited for it?
Yeah, this is exciting. This is something, it's something it's middle of the season. This would be normal NBA grind and nothing burger. But now we got these extra games that means something. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to watch. I'm excited. Had 2 games against Golden State this year. Both were really good games and came down to the wire. I think it's going to be a good game. Yeah, super excited, man. Yeah, excited to see the Young Bucks get out there and try to punch their ticket to Vegas.
I want your take on Şengün because 2 games this year, like you said, I think he was pretty good in 1 game. 1 game he was so bad he was benched, and we know that happens on occasion. Şengün gets that benching. He got benched. That was the overtime game. That was a game where Eason went nuts, and I think Amen Thompson went nuts. Both those guys play really well. That's when Şengün gets benched, like Eason or Amen, those are the guys that take advantage of it. And just Golden State, the way they play, it just doesn't really favor Şengün's skill set. They're really strong inside in the paint, and Şengün's got those old school post moves. I'm out. I don't want to say I'm fully out. I'm not going to say I'm fully out, but I'm going to be under the field. We're looking at like 30% or so for Şengün. 9.2 is not exactly a friendly price on DK for him. I'm much more apt to be playing, Amen Thompson. I love Tari Eason. Considering the salaries and all that, FEV is fine. I want your take. What is your take here as far as Şengün? Are you in? Are you out? Can you see both scenarios happening? As far as storytelling, I'm kind of betting against Şengün, which means I think Eason could benefit or Thompson could benefit.
It is tough to say, Dean. I don't know. It's a weird scenario. First off, in that first game, the Warriors were just Rockets did not come to play in that first half, and the Warriors blew them out. And so he took Şengün out, put Eason in. Eason had a career game. He led that comeback, got him to overtime. They couldn't stop him. He was all over, so you couldn't put Şengün back in. So I give him a break there. The second game still wasn't like great by Şengün standards at all. And it's weird because Golden State, they do give up the post-up game in the paint. And that should be something Şengün takes advantage. Now they don't let you get to the rim, but they will give up stuff in the paint. So it's a weird matchup where it should be okay for him and his variety of inside post moves, but it hasn't been. So I don't know, Dean. It's a tough one. Now, this could very well come back and be the game where he goes crazy. But
because he can have like 10 assists too. Like he has other routes to get there. He doesn't necessarily have to score 20
he
points.
doesn't have to score, but I think for our purposes, for him to really do what we want him to do at this price tag, we want him to score. And I don't know, man, because I'll say this much about Jalen Green usually finds a little success against Golden State, more success than Şengün. And they've made it a point for Jalen Green to stop shooting all these three-pointers and get him downhill, driving to the rim. And it's helped his game out. You can see it. It's the actual performance on the court and in the box score. You can see it since, last 2 weeks since they started doing it. So maybe it's a Jalen Green game. One of them will have a big game today, but I don't know which one. They both got, And again, Jalen Green likes to get downhill and get to the rim, but Golden State is good at protecting the rim. So Jalen shouldn't have good games against Golden State, but he's had better games than Şengün, who theoretically should have better games against Golden State. So I don't know what to make of it. I'm probably on the Jalen Green side of this thing tonight, but there's also other pieces in this game for the Rockets that I think Jabari Smith is a good play. Cheap price. Steven Adams may not play. If he doesn't play, it's even more security. But even if he does play, Jabari's probably the guy who gets the backup center minutes anyway. So, Jabari's in a good spot here. I like Jabari quite a bit, and these other guys can always. Amin Thompson can get there with his energy. Tari Eason can get there with the energy. I'm just not been a.
What's the nickname again? What's the nickname of those two?
Terror Twins.
Terror Twins. It's really good. It's really strong. Yeah.
Fred VanVleet, man, I've not been on him this year at all. Like, I don't. I think he's best left as like not a piece that should be a fantasy relevant guy for this team, but he does have his good games. But I'm not on Fred VanVleet. I never am. So take that with a grain of salt.
He can also play like 39 minutes, Chop.
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
Yeah,
just hasn't been something I'm on, and I've regretted it a couple times, but for the most part, it's not been something that wasn't, a decent enough fade. Dylan Brooks can have a decent game every once in a while. You never know about him. So 4,400, he's actually had a monster game recently, didn't he? Yeah, he's had some good games. He has a good run recently. So, yeah, give him credit. Maybe he gets there, but again, that's not really something I'm on.
He was 4 for 8 from 3. He had 3 stocks, 5 assists, which you don't see very often out of him. 42 points against the Clippers, playing 38 minutes, a lot of minutes. By the Atlanta guys, they're all in, no surprise. Bogdanovich in with his quad, Hunter in with his injury management, Jalen Johnson in with his shoulder, and Trae Young, in case you thought there's a chance he wouldn't play tonight. Of course he's playing in the Garden with his Achilles. Opponent points in the paint, Chop. Houston allows the 5th fewest points in the paint, and Golden State the 3rd fewest. So it's just like it's kind of a tougher grind inside. Şengün's like a throwback in that, like, who has post moves these days, right? Who even tries post moves? It's like not even a thing, It's just, but he's one of those guys. Şengün, Joker. Who else is like post move players in the NBA in 2024, right? Not saying that's their only thing they had, but like, it's just not something that's really stressed, right?
There's probably more guards that move like that in the paint. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's more guards that when they get post-ups, they move like that. The big men don't do that anymore like that.
A lot of them are just stepping out. talk about the Warriors, and I think the biggest conversation for Golden State is, and again, we're projecting. I shouldn't say assuming. You have to project somebody. We're projecting Kuminga to start. We're projecting Draymond to start, as well as Buddy Hield, your boy Buddy Hyde. Curry, Wiggins, he's questionable, but come on, he's playing. Kuminga, especially, he's 6K on FanDuel, I think, right? He's, I think, 5'4" on DK. He's jumping off the page, like screaming value. And we've seen him be volatile. We've seen, Kerr get frustrated with him. And he's been good. And he has a ton of talent. You watch him, you're like, yeah, I can see why people get excited over him. But, would you be shocked if he only played 23 minutes and didn't start? Wouldn't be shocking. He makes a goofy mistake out there. And then, Kerr's not afraid to use his bench. Probably tightening it up for this game. But I need to know, 67% Kuminga. How do we feel about that shot? Because I don't know, man. I understand why he's projecting that on DK, but that's probably too high. Isn't that too high?
Man, it's a big number, but it's a 2-game slate, and obviously, I think the big guys from New York with the big ownership are much better, much more secure than this. Man, I don't know. It depends on what you're doing. If I'm running one lineup, that's it's a good question whether you fade it. But if you're doing 150, you don't have to fade him altogether. You can still get him in there and get some mix just in case, because he theoretically probably has a pretty good game to go against the Rockets, like the game type, his archetype of offensive player and energy. So yeah, that's a tough one, man. I think you could fade him, but could bite you.
Yeah, again, he's been very good lately. He's been up and down his entire tenure with Golden State. Now he's up. He was great against Minnesota last time out. Not great against Minnesota the previous game. Great against Houston, not too long ago. I don't know, man. It's just, if he wasn't going to be owned, of course, but he's going to be probably the most popular player on the slate. So that's why I have a little bit of hesitation. And he's a volatile type player. So it's the combination of most popular player on the slate plus volatility. And I generally like to play the volatile guys when they're going to be low owned. But that's not how it's working out today. And I'm definitely going to play some, but I think he's an interesting potential fade. Some questions popping up in chat. Negative Creep wants, asking me specifically, not you. Backstreet Boys are New Kids on the Block. I guess that's Backstreet Boys. The producer Steve answers in sync. I guess the secret answer C.
Oh,
yeah, which is they're in the same camp, I suppose. Certainly Backstreet Boys before producer Steve's time. I don't know if you would have thought in that job by all means. Eric wants to know Buddy Hield, your boy Buddy.
We didn't talk about him.
Interesting, sure. He actually is interesting off the bench too as well, but you're at the mercy of him hitting threes.
I like Buddy Hyde. Okay, now I'm going to preface this. I want to see the starting lineup. If he gets the start, I think he has some pretty secure minutes when he starts. It's only happened a few times this year, but I think there's security in him when he starts. If he comes off the bench, I actually think there's a cap on those minutes, and I don't want to play him at all. But if we see the news and he gets to start, I'm good with Buddy Hyde. He's going to, if he starts, he's going to have a pretty good floor of minutes. He's going to take a lot of three-point shots. He's going to, like you said, you're at the mercy of him hitting them. But, man, if he does hit them at this price tag, that's a GPP winner. But it's all about him starting. So it becomes who starts and which one of the guys goes to the bench because of it. And that guy becomes a fade, and the guy who starts is in play. So we just got to see how Kerr wants to play it out.
Let's see. Derek wants to know Buddy Hield or Brooks on DK. Who's your preference?
What do we DK, golly. I'm gonna go Buddy. If Buddy starts, so you'll have that information by the time you have to make that decision. If Buddy's in the starting lineup, it's Buddy for me.
Michael wants to know Kuminga or pivot to Wiggins. I will say that be sharp on like if you're behind, like if you can see, like, maybe if you're up there, but like you can sort of do the math. You can figure out, like, if you're blocked by a bunch of Kuminga teams and they're behind by 2 points or whatever, and the games might overlap by a few minutes. It's possible, but you'll basically know. It's a good strategy to, if you're ahead, stick with Kuminga. If you're behind, go with Wiggins. And that's sort of my thought process, assuming Kuminga's starting. You have a thought on that, Chuck?
On which one? Kuminga or Wiggins?
Kuminga versus Wiggins. And my thought is basically, if you're ahead, stick with Kuminga.
If you're playing that as just in a vacuum without doing that late swap thing, if you're asking me right now, I mean, first of all, there's a $1,200 price difference. So Wiggins is supposed to be better. Of course, I like Wiggins a little bit better, but there is a $1,200 price gap. But yeah, I like Wiggins better. Just in a vacuum right now before the thing, if the salary didn't matter to you, I would definitely 100% look at that ownership and go, yep, give me Andrew Wiggins.
Hart is in, no surprise. Cat is in. Brunson, Bridges, Anunoby, Hart, Towns. That is your starting lineup for New York. Who would start over Buddy? Would it be Looney? No, I think Looney would start over Draymond. Would
it be Pods? That's what I was thinking.
I think it might be Gary Payton, but I also think Hield's starting.
I think so too, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think our minutes right now, and this is why I'm happy I'm not on the projection team, but yeah, 34 for Steph. Maybe he gets an extra minute or two with the cup stuff, but like he's one of those stars that doesn't really get full minutes. We're giving 32 to Wiggins, 31 to Green, 30 to Kuminga. Again, it could be 30. Hield 26, Pods 22, Looney 20, Peyton 17, Lindy Waters 13, Anderson 8. TJD is really falling back. He's getting 7. On FanDuel, by the way, Chop, the Wiggins and Kuminga price is much closer. So Eric wants to know Precious versus Looney. Well, Precious would have been really interesting if Hart's not going. They have played him alongside Cat. It's happened before, but how many minutes can Precious actually play is the tricky part. Unless you're banking on Cat getting in foul trouble or something like that. We're giving him 16, and we're giving Cat 36. So like, what's that? Four crossover minutes being on the court at the same time.
That's an easy choice to Looney right there. If you're just talking about in a vacuum on DraftKings, yeah, I want Looney over Achua.
I don't know why they're talking about tamales in chat. Did something come up that tamales is relevant?
Man, they're saying HEB has and Central Market has tamales now. It's a pretty big deal for San Antonio. It's a pretty big deal.
HEB is a food chain in the Midwest or something?
No, it's in Texas.
It's just Texas.
Just a specific part of Texas too.
Heard of it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I've been. I've been to Texas. Are you a Buc-ee's guy, Chop?
Man, hell no. Respectfully, I've been to Buc-ee's plenty of times. Listen, it's a great place.
Yeah.
But I've learned my lesson just too many times. You're in line waiting to get gas. There's where you're backed up and you get in there, you're elbow to elbow with people. I don't want to know. I'm on my road trip.
Crowds, yeah.
I can just go down the street literally 2 minutes and nobody's at the Smiling Eagle Chevron down there, and I can get my McDonald's and my drinks and move on.
There's like legit 120 pumps at Buc-ee's, like something like that, right?
There's always a line. There's like 5 cars ahead of you at every single pump. No, I'll pass, man.
There's one in Florida. They're expanding, and somebody was telling me. I think it's I can't remember. Somewhere they were taking a trip and they saw one on the road. But typically they were just in Texas. I think there's a couple now spread around the country. But the phenomenon that is Buc-ee's. We do have to get out of here shortly. We got to make some lineups, of course. Let's see. Eric's asking who pumps their own gas. Well, it's a state law in New Jersey and I think Oregon where you can't pump your own gas. Like they have official pumpers. By the way, Mr. Gerg is asking what Buc-ee's is. It Buckees'. Give that a Google. It's not like the running back for Tampa that was terrible this past weekend. Chop, who's breaking the slate?
Good question, Dean. Let me pull up let me see here. Oh, man. Ooh, I want to play this. I want to give you this guy, but man, this is some volatility, Dean. But we're
Be
shooting for the
ambitious.
moon. I really think in this style of game, it's Jabari Smith. I think there's a lot of different paths there. There's the path that Steven Adams doesn't play. There's the path that Adams is active, but Jabari still takes the backup minutes. There's a path that Şengün gets that benching again against Golden State, and Jabari takes on a massive role. It's a lot of good avenues for him to have some upside in this game. I'm going Jabari Smith.
On that note, I'm going to take Tari Eason. Taking Tari Eason.
Ooh, I like it. I like that game. He's already done it against this team. He knows. He's got it. He smells blood.
Like I said, I'm going to be under on Şengün. I'll be over on Eason. I'll probably be over on Ahmed. I don't like the Ahmed price on DK. I guess he can get there. Was he 6'3"? I suppose he can pay that off. Yeah. Anything? Oh, wait, one more question in chat before we step aside. Q Gilly, Hart or OG for FanDuel single entry? You have a preference amongst OG and Hart?
What's the price tag? Hart or OG? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go OG. I'm gonna go OG. He's playing well, and Hart, albeit is going to be active. He was questionable. The ankle is legit. Maybe that factors in a little bit. OG's just playing very well right now. I'll go OG.
A little bit cheaper too. OG 7K on FanDuel. Hart is 7.4. So far, everybody that's been questionable has been in, but you got to stay tuned as far as the late game. Before you get out of here, do hit that like button, do subscribe, do turn on those notifications. You know we go live tomorrow night. We are going to be running it back. Well, I think Roth will be holding it down for some basketball. It's a 3-gamer. Then there's Thursday night football. Later on tonight, Chop. Later on tonight, I'm actually wearing the hat. We're rocking the hat. The Pick 6 show, myself, Rebar, Daigle, Week 15, talking some NFL. It's a good first look podcast. Those guys, truly, if you've never listened, they are spectacular. Daigle and Rebar. Talk a little bit of movies afterwards. But about an hour and a half of football. We talk a little bit of movies on the back end of the pod. But we do have to step aside and get out of here. Appreciate y'all watching. We're out of here. Holler.